UP Board of Regents had a vision to develop their true firstborn college that will spearhead national development through agriculture. At the foot of Mount Makiling, Edwin B. Copeland, together with 7 faculty and 12 students, embarked on the journey to create the UP College of Agriculture, or UPCA. Through its 112 years of existence, the college has produced over 1,000 technologies and variety of plants and animals, 9 national scientists, over 30 outstanding young scientists, and more than 18,000 graduates contributing to agricultural development. UPCA, now College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, has been continuously contributing to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension function. A mere 10 years after establishment, the college was able to start breeding works with the production of sugarcane varieties with high productivity and resistance to Fiji and mosaic disease. In the 1920s, the importance of agriculture was intensified and UPCA was recognized as neighboring countries began sending their students to Los Baños because of the high quality of education. In the 1930s, breeds with superior characteristics such as the Burkhala pig, Los Baños Cantonese chicken, and Philippine cattle were developed. The 1960s was a fruitful decade for research. Makapuno, a coconut cultivar often made into a dessert, was pioneered and perfected. Meanwhile, the Dairy Training and Research Institute was the first in the country to freeze buffalo semen, paving the way for artificial insemination of local carabaos. Along with the establishment of UPLB in the 70s, the college received the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award for International Understanding, Asia's counterpart for the Nobel Peace Prize. In the same decade, the C4 plants were developed. The soil test kits were produced in support of the Masagana 99 program, and the mango induction technique was introduced. Continuing the production of quality research outputs in the 1980s, techniques to minimize post-harvest losses, the accelerated fish sauce manufacturing process, and the rapid test kit for the detection of pesticide residue on vegetables were developed. The 1990s saw many new varieties across species or crop types, including Sinta papaya, the first Philippine-bred hybrid, UPLB Gold, a durian variety, and Doña Amelita, a musaenda named after the wife of former President Fidel Ramos. The award-winning National Corn-Based Farmer Scientist RDE Training Program, or FSTP, was also established around this time and still remains as one of the university's primary extension programs. In the field of instruction, the book titled Integrating Sustainable Agriculture in the BSA Curriculum, the UPLB College of Agriculture Experience, was published in 1999. At present, the College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, continues to be the premier institution of higher learning in agriculture and food science, and remains committed to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension programs. In order to produce the best graduates, all of our courses are outcomes-based education, and continuous improvement of the curriculum is being practiced to meet the challenges of the 21st century. As testament of excellence, CAFS is constantly recognized by different organizations. In research, we continue to implement relevant studies with focus on the 12 priority commodities to address food security. Moreover, technologies are constantly developed to aid in responsible food production. Supplementing these are extension activities to disseminate the knowledge generated to improve food productivity and livelihood of the people. We believe that present technologies will future-proof our food systems. Some of our notable developments are iDetect, Coraginam, Plant Health and Pest Clinic, Pest Management Tools and Techniques, Smarter Pest Identification Technology or SpeedTech, Snap Hydroponics, Drone Technology, Rapid Immunofilter Assay for Virus Indexing, Nanofertilizers Fertigrow, Corbogrow, Nanobiosensors, Biochar. We at the College of Agriculture and Food Science will continue to promote and nurture a culture with innovative yet conscientious minds and cutting-edge skills to lead and serve the country and the region. We are one college with one goal towards sustainable food systems.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Naimbag nga bigat, maayong aga, maupay nga aga, maayong buntag sa inyo tanan. Hello po dyan sa inyo sa CAPS Dean's Office. To my fellow reps, LGRTS reps, Doc Faith, Dr. Samson, and Sir Ray. Sa LGRTS admin team po namin na nasa biyahe ngayon, have a safe flight po. Good morning. Welcome to Episode 9, Rice Grain Quality and Utilization in Rice-Based Products, the last episode of the Rice Science and Technology Webinar Series Part 2. This webinar series po is brought to you by the College of Agriculture and Food Science in partnership with the Department of Agriculture Rice Research Institute or PhilRice. So this last episode po is hosted by the La Granja Research and Training Station, a satellite unit under the College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, located in the sugar capital of the Philippines, Negros Occidental. I am your host today, your kasama, Sheni Hilado. So I know that maybe you're thinking, Negros Occidental, yes po, we are here. We may be far from our mother unit, but our CAPS family na pinamumunuan po ng aming dekano, Dean Elpidio M. Agbisit Jr., always makes sure that we are one college, one CAPS. So, now let's see kung sino-sino po kaya ang mga andito ngayon. So we have here from Iloilo State University. Hello po, maayong agad dyan sa inyo. Sa Occidental Mindoro, good morning po. Meron din po tayo participants from Bukidnon, Davao Oriental State University, Tarlac Agricultural University, South Cotabato, Batangas State University, Eastern Samar State University, and we also have participants from Ilocos Sur. So as of now, we have 250 participants from the Zoom platform. And of course, madami din pong nanonood sa ating YouTube and Facebook accounts. All right. So alam ko po, some of our participants alam na ito. But to ensure a smooth flow of this webinar, let me inform or remind you of some house rules po. So ganun pa din dati, for panelists, please keep your microphones muted at all times. Please wait to be recognized before speaking. For Zoom participants naman po, during Q&A, if you have questions or comments, please use the chat box and also wait to be recognized. For Facebook and YouTube viewers, please use the comment section to ask your questions and follow the format on the screen. So additional reminder po, don't forget to sign the attendance using the link provided in the chat box for Zoom participants, our comment section po for Facebook and YouTube viewers. So moving on, please be informed po that a total of 7 CPD points will be given to those who have completed episodes 1 to 9. Just make sure po that you always accomplish both the attendance and evaluation forms. Also see to it that you provided us with your correct and active email address para po sigurado na makakarating at matatanggap niyo po ang inyong mga electronic certificates. That will be given after the Rise Science and Technology webinar series. To officially start this webinar po, please find your most comfortable seat and let us hear from the station manager of the La Granja Research and Training Station, Ms. Eva Siganyabo, for her opening message.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shani, for the introduction. Warm welcome, everyone at Rise, our partner in this webinar, my colleagues at the College of Agriculture and Food Science, and especially the participants. This is episode 9 of part 2, and it is all about rice grain quality and utilization in rice-based products. On behalf of CAFS, with the lead of our Dean, Professor Elpidio M. Adbisi Jr., I would like to welcome and give thanks to our resource persons for today, Dr. Riza G. Abilgos Ramos and Ms. Rosalie V. Manawes. Thank you very much, ma'ams, for gracing this activity with your knowledge and time. Looking back to the previous episodes, we have learned a lot about rice production technologies and the service facilities field rice offers with it. But this day I consider precious. Dahil pag-uusapan natin ang gintong butil ng palay. I hope you are one with me as I contemplate that for every sprout that comes out from every grain of rice as we start sowing it is equivalent to our lives. As a gesture of response to the call of food security, I am convinced that this topic is very relevant. It is also timely as a preparation for the future of this very important commodity. I said it is precious because we are not just giving value to the very grain of rice alone, but most of all, through this episode, we are pushing for the value of the rice farmers who are really facing the huge challenge in the rice industry of today. And as researchers, educators, extension professionals in the service for our respective stakeholders and clientele, I hope this discussion will make your day fruitful. From the men and women of La Granja Research and Training Station, I say good morning, magandang umaga, maayong buntag, kag maayong aga sa inyong tanan. Salamat!
Thank you, Ma'am Eva, for that welcoming remarks. Now I know that you are excited for this last webinar. But before I introduce to you our resource speakers for today, paki-on po muna ng ating mga camera panelists. Let's have a group photo po. May I request Sir Arthur to facilitate the virtual photo op.
Okay po. 1, 2, 3. Okay na po.
Okay, thank you po, Sir Arthur. Okay, let's get into this. So we have two speakers for today. Both are from the Rice Chemistry and Food Science Division of DA Phil Rice. Our first speaker for today's episode is Ms. Rosalie V. Manawis. She is a licensed chemist and a food scientist. Her work has focused in evaluating the grain quality of rice and its healthful components, as well as those of its byproducts and rice-based crops, to develop products that promote health and or serve as source of income. She has led research projects and studies on antioxidant content, prebiotic components, and in vitro glycemic index of rice and rice-based products. Ms. Manawis was a member of various technical working groups of DA, including the development of Philippine National Standard on the Guidelines and Philippine Grain Standardization Program. She has also mentored undergraduate students and has served as reviewer of various local, national, and international peer-reviewed scientific journals. She has authored and co-authored journal articles, books, and other publications, and has presented her research findings in conferences in and outside the country. So another speaker for today is Dr. Riza G. Abilgos Ramos. She is a pioneering researcher in nutrition, health, and wellness, a project leader of the Rice Business Innovation Program, also known as Rice Biz, conducting market studies and developing consumer-centric products. Through her work, she empowers women farmers to establish food businesses for additional income. Dr. Abilgos Ramos also mentors junior researchers, undergraduate and graduate students, and supervises interns and thesis students from various universities. She has been awarded as a distinguished alumna of UPLB and an alumni awardee of the Ford Foundation Institute of International Education and a regional Gawad Saka Outstanding Agricultural Researcher. Her team also won the 2020 Gourmand World Cookbook Awards, and she also received numerous awards internationally. To talk about the rice grain quality and utilization in rice-based products, let us all welcome Ms. Rosalie Manawis and Dr. Riza Abilgos Ramos. Good morning, ma'am.
Hello, good morning, Sheni. Am I audible?
Yes, po.
Okay. So to all the faculty and staff, and officials, of course, of the UPLB CAPS, and to our participants, good morning to everyone. So let me share my presentation. So nakikita na po ba?
Yes, po, ma'am.
Okay. So today I'm gonna talk about the rice as we eat it, its various properties and characteristics that make it suitable for various applications. And I hope that at the end of this talk and the talk that will proceed, that will follow my presentation, you will gain a deeper appreciation and appreciation of rice and its the science behind the development of varieties based on the preferences and needs of consumers. So my presentation will be here is the outline of my presentation. So first, I will give a short background about rice and how the rice we consume, our consumption of rice. And then I will discuss about grain quality. So what defines grain quality. And then I will present some specialty rice varieties. And then I will give you some background on what we do in measuring the grain quality parameters as part of the breeding program. And lastly, I will mention some factors that affect rice grain quality. And of course, I will present a summary of the presentation. So to begin, Rice is still the most important food item in the Filipino diet. In fact, according to the latest National Nutrition Survey of the Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the DOST, rice and products contribute the highest to the total food intake of Filipino households. So we get most of our energy or caloric intake from rice because rice is rich in carbohydrates. But carbohydrates are not just the components present in rice. So it has many properties that are unique. That's why it's suitable for many applications. And later on, we will discuss more about it for the next two presentations. So to start off, let me just give you a presentation. Just give you a background on the rice grain. This is the composition of the grain. So this is the rice kernel. We call it the rough rice or paddy rice. So it contains all the parts. This is the hull. This is the outer covering, hull or husk. And we call it in Tagalog as ipa. So beneath the hull or the husk is the bran or darak in Tagalog. So bran is composed of various layers. The pericarp, seed coat, nucellus, and alburon layer. So beneath that, beneath the bran, so the bran covers this white portion, which is the portion that we are most familiar with, the white rice or the endosperm. And that small part there is the embryo or the germ. So in processing the rice, so this is the rough rice containing all the parts. Dehulling is the first step. So in dehulling, we just remove the hull or the husk and we obtain brown rice. So brown rice is not a variety, it's a form of rice. So it means that all varieties of rice can be made into brown rice. You just dehull it, just remove the husk, and you obtain the brown rice. And further milling or polishing of the grain of the brown rice removes the bran. So it's the co-product, and you obtain milled rice as the end product. So this is also called polished rice. So this is what we eat as white rice. So to discuss each part, so we just skip the hull since this is not edible. We'll start with endosperm because this is what we eat. As I mentioned a while ago, it's an excellent source of carbohydrates. About 92% of the endosperm is composed of starch and some protein and other components. So it contributes 54.4% of energy and 36.3% protein intake in Filipinos. Now, rice starch is hypoallergenic, doesn't contain the protein called gluten, which is found in wheat. So in wheat, it affects the rising. So it's rising of the dough. So that's why wheat is used in preparing bread. But rice doesn't have that. But the good thing about that is it's hypoallergenic because in certain populations, celiac disease or gluten intolerance is common. So luckily in the Philippines, it's not as common. So rice doesn't have that protein that causes allergies. So rice starch is also bland in taste, so it can be incorporated in many products, and this will be discussed later in the next presentation. So it's white in color, smooth texture when in gel form. And starch granules are also small. So you can see from here, comparing it with other starchy crops, the granules of rice starch are smaller. They are polygonal in shape and are compacted together. Now we go to the bran. So this bran contains many components, and most of them are nutritional and have phytochemical and health promoting properties. So examples are proteins, minerals, and vitamins, dietary fiber, and phytochemicals include the phytosterols, phytic acid, gamma oryzanol, and folic acids. So these phytochemicals are especially high in varieties with natural pigments like red rice and black rice. So we'll discuss more about that later. And now we go to the embryo or germ. So that small portion there makes up about 2% of the weight of the paddy rice kernel, and it sprouts into a new plant in the process called germination. And during that process, a neurotransmitter called gamma aminobutyric acid or GABA is released, and this has reported memory enhancing properties. So germ, just like the bran, also contains many phytochemicals and nutritious substances like poly and monounsaturated fatty acids, oils, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, protein, and fiber. But just like bran as well, when you mill it or when you polish the grain, they get removed. So when we don't proceed with polishing, as I mentioned a while ago, we just get brown rice. So brown rice is more nutritious than milled rice because of the bran and the germ, sometimes the germ that are still present. So as you can see here, by the way, brown rice is called pinawa in our language. And it's also called unpolished or dehulled rice because basically just the hull is removed. And according to the USFDA, it's considered as a whole grain food. So as you can see from here, brown rice contains higher crude protein, crude fat, crude ash, and total dietary fiber than its milled rice counterpart. So for the crude ash, this is composed of many minerals, and some of these, include the phosphorus, iron, zinc, and they are really high in levels compared to those found in milled rice. So brown rice also contains higher B vitamins like thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate, and vitamin E. So those properties of the grain, so it's just an introduction, they all contribute to what we call rice grain quality. So what really is rice grain quality? It's a combination of the physical and chemical characteristics required for a specific use by a specific user. And these are usually, rice grain quality is usually categorized into milling attributes, appearance, the processing characteristics, eating quality, nutritional value, and health promoting properties. So grain quality usually dictates the price or the market value of the rice. But what is considered high quality by a specific user may not be considered high quality by another. So for example, in countries in the Far East, they prefer rice that is sticky and soft. So these are countries like Japan, Korea, and what else? China. But in South Asian countries, they prefer non-sticky types. So in India, you will find varieties that are like this. So they put more premium on these types. So in the Philippines, what do we consider as quality rice? So in a study by one of our colleagues here at Rice, Ms. Bandunil and their co-workers, they conducted the research in 2017. They found that generally Filipinos prefer raw rice that is long and slender. In the length is long and the shape is slender. There are also groups of people, Filipinos as well, who prefer the shorter grains and with bold shape. So they are usually the ones residing in the highlands. So nagkakaiba-iba po ng preference. And what is considered, as I mentioned a while ago, what is considered high quality by one may not be considered high quality by another. But we agree generally that for cooked rice, aromatic varieties and those with tender or soft texture are considered high quality. And this characteristic of rice translates to having low to intermediate amylose content. So this is a starch component that I will discuss later. So these are characteristics of varieties that are used for table rice. So yung kinakain po natin 3 times a day. So that's why in breeding programs, these are the characteristics that are the targets breeders. So they breed mostly low to intermediate amylose content varieties. So in the market, you'll find more of these types. But there are also varieties that are used for specific or special purposes. And they are bred for special purposes as well. So they are called specialty rice. And these rices include the first one is waxy rice. So they are glutinous, sticky. These are other terms for waxy rice. And they can be easily distinguished from waxy rice because they are completely opaque when they are raw. Yung malalagkit po. So, ganyan po ang itsura dito ba? So, their amylose content is virtually zero. So, 0 to 2% only. And they are extremely soft and sticky when cooked. That's why they are used for special purposes. So, mas mahal din po sila. Titignan po natin yung presyo nila and i-compare with those regular varieties. So the next type of specialty rice is aromatic rice. So they are considered the best in quality and they fetch much higher market price. So these varieties, the varieties are in the world market, usually originate from countries like India, Pakistan, and Thailand. But the Philippines also has aromatic rice varieties. So nagbi-breed din po ang breeders natin ng mga aromatic rice tulad po ng mga mabango series. Meron din po tayong traditional variety which are naturally aromatic like yung milagrosa, burdagol, yan po. And the aroma is due to the chemical called 280, to acetyl 1-POE, and it's responsible for the popcorn and popcorn-like aroma of aromatic rice. So the next type of, or the next classification of specialty rice is micronutrient dense rice. So these are specifically bred and are used to address malnutrition problems, specifically micronutrient deficiencies. So an example is high iron rice or MS13. So this is the NSIC name, and it's used for combating iron deficiency anemia. We also have high zinc rice to treat micronutrient deficiencies, and we have malusog rice or golden rice or the beta-carotene rich rice, which is developed to address vitamin A deficiencies in target communities or target populations. And lastly, we have pigmented rice. So it's also a specialty rice. This is either a traditional or a modern variety that has a natural color that ranges from red to black. So the color is due to the chemical or pigment called anthocyanin, and this pigment is located in the bran layers. So pag tinanggal po yung bran, usually nawawala din po yung color. So it contains dietary fiber and phytochemicals. And examples of these phytochemicals are vitamin E, tulad po nung mga sa brand kanina na nabanggit. But there are reports marami pong reports nagsasabi na may antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-mutagenic, antimicrobial, and anti-inflammatory properties po ang iba't ibang varieties with color. So yung ating pigmented rice. So specialty rice and table rice, so ito po ay binibreed. So yan po ay importante. Grain quality po ng mga varieties na ito ay importante. That's why grain quality is one of the selection criterion in breeding rice varieties. So for our division, we test routinely test for grain quality of lines coming from the breeders at consumers that the varieties that get to them are of excellent grain quality. So what are the parameters that we measure or we test? Ang unang-una po dyan are the milling potentials. So we determine the milling recovery. So minsan mataas po ang yield ng rice pero mababa ang milling recovery. So hindi po yun maganda, di po ba? So we have to balance. And milling potentials, the measured parameters are brown rice yield, total milled rice yield, head rice yield, and the percentage of brokens. So may recommended value po yan, and ito po yung recommended value. So another parameter that we measure are the physical attributes. I mentioned a while ago about general preference of Filipinos for rice. It's long and slender, but some also prefer short and bold. So we measure that using some instruments. And we also determine the percentage of chalky grains. These are the chalky grains. As you can see, hindi po siya completely translucent yung grain. Meron pong opaque part, and this opaque part negatively affects the appearance. So may epekto rin po siya sa market value. So hindi po siya magandang tingnan, so bumababa po ang presyo. So if the percentage of chalky grains is high, may ano po yun, may effect po yun dun sa price. And not only that, not only on appearance, chalky grains also affect the milling recovery. So the grains with chalky parts are more prone to breakage during milling. So bumababa po ang milling recovery. And the same is true with immature grains. So that's why these are also determined. And also we analyze for the raw and cooked rice color, especially for pigmented rice varieties. So because some consumers, they like rice, halimbawa na yung talagang very dark. So yung iba naman ay medyo dark lang, purplish, ganyan. So we test for those characteristics. So another set of properties that we determine as part of the grain quality evaluation are the physical properties. So these are important because they are indicators of rice eating and processing quality. So the first one is protein content. So protein content has an implication on the nutritional value of the rice. Siyempre, mas mataas po yung protein content, mas okay po sana. Kaya lang, it affects negatively the texture of cooked rice. So pag mataas po sa protein content, mas nagiging matigas yung ating cooked rice. So rice protein has the highest lysine content among cereals. And we know that lysine is an essential amino acid. So we only get lysine from foods. Our bodies cannot manufacture them. So that's a good point for rice. Next is amylose content. I've mentioned amylose content in the previous slides. This is important because it affects texture of cooked rice. So it's the single most important characteristic, physicochemical characteristic relating to the eating ability. So the higher the amylose content, the harder the texture of the cooked rice. That's why dun sa waxy rice po natin, virtually walang amylose content at sobrang lambot po niya. So it determines the suitability of rice for different applications. Yun nga po kung sobrang baba, meron tayong waxy rice. And of course, we know the uses of waxy rice. You can use it for various rice cakes, while for the other types, you can use it for other applications, which will be discussed later by the next speaker. And then next, we have the gelatinization temperature. Now, this physicochemical property determines how long it takes to cook the rice. So it also affects the texture to some extent. And lastly, gel consistency. This property differentiates among high amylose content rice varieties. So ito lang po ay examples po ng ating classes, varieties with amylose content. And ayan po ang waxy glutinous rice. So we mentioned it a while ago. So this is a specialty rice. Minsan po yung very low ay ganun din, as a specialty rice category din siya because it remains soft even when cooled. Then the low to high amylose types are the ones that we usually use as table rice. So these are just sample varieties. So yung pong popular ones like 160 to 18480, ito po yung malalambot ng karaniwan po na table rice natin. At maganda po ang presyo sa merkado. So we also test for cooking parameters. So the optimum cooking water, cooking time, volume expansion. So determine po natin dito yung mga variety na nagiging maalsa kapag ka po naluluto. Then we also test for tasting profile using a machine called the rapid response analyzer. So this is related to the cooking quality of the rice. And of course, we test for the sensory properties of the rice. Ultimately, yung pong humans na magsasabi kung gusto nila maganda ba yung eating quality ng rice. And we use two methods to determine that, actually three. But first, we have the laboratory sensory evaluation. So an expert panel, or parang taste panel po siya, determines different properties like for raw rice, aroma, whiteness, translucency, and brittleness. While for cooked rice, they test or they determine and describe the aroma, whiteness, gloss, cohesiveness, tenderness, smoothness, and taste of the rice. So we also go to consumers, and this is done to determine acceptability and preference. So tulad na po ng nabanggit ko kanina, may certain population na gusto nila ganitong klaseng bigas or kanin, meron na maiba ganito. So this helps us where to promote the varieties that are bred by the breeders. So we also use an instrumental technique to verify or validate. It's a complementing technique to the laboratory sensory evaluation. So we use the Instron testing machine to determine cook rice hardness. Ito po yung mga properties niya when we get these values. So yun po yung mga ginagawa ng aming division as part of the rice breeding program. But there are also factors that affect rice grain quality. Yung mga na-mention po namin, usually they are caused by genotypic differences. So genetics po yan. But there are also external factors that affect quality of rice. And these are just some of the factors. Meron pa pong iba na probably I won't be able to discuss because of time limitation. But these are just examples. Excuse me. So one is diseases and field insects. So they affect the appearance as well as the milling recovery. So minsan nagkakaroon ng grain discoloration if the plant is affected by these. Also, the level of nitrogen fertilization during the plant growth is affecting the grain quality. So tumataas po ang protein content. And what does that mean? What does it means when what does it mean in terms of eating quality? So we know that when we increase the protein content, the palatability decreases because it becomes harder when it's cooked. So high temperatures during growth, certain growth stages of the plant also affect grain quality. For example, it may increase chalkiness and therefore reduce kernel strength and decrease the milling yield. It can also negatively correlate with amylose content, but increase protein and mineral content. So ibig sabihin, meron na naman pong increase in protein, so an effect on the palatability. So lower palatability. But higher temperatures may increase the levels of phytochemicals and nutrients like oryzanol and phosphols, but they reduce phenolics and phytic acid content. So harvest moisture content also affects grain quality, specifically the milling yield. High or low harvest moisture content may lower the milling yield due to fissuring and immature kernels. Now, for post-harvest processes like drying, meron din pong recommended uh, levels like the moisture content should be within 12 to 14% because beyond this, there is kernel fissuring. So bumababa po ang grain recording. Now, rapid drying of rough rice with high air temperature causes discoloration of grains. So may effect po siya sa appearance. Then for aromatic rice, drying at lower temperatures is desirable because through AP, the aromatic component is highly volatile. So pagka mataas ang temperature, mag-volatilize po yan, nawawala po yung ating desired scent or aroma. So storage also has an effect on post-harvest. So it's recommended that we at least age rice, so called aging, but it's restoring for at least 2 months after harvest because dun lang po nagiging stable yung ating grain quality. And however, increasing storage time causes in antioxidant compounds. Now, processing also affects the quality, specifically yung milling yield din po. I mentioned about brown rice. So when we polish brown rice and get polished rice, may tendency po na magkaroon ng broken. That's why the milling recovery of brown rice is higher than polished rice. And brown rice is recommended not just for health improvement, for its nutritional effect, but also to improve the milling recovery. There are also treatments that improve milling recovery, like parboiling. In certain countries, like India, Pakistan, we do parboiling of the paddy rice before milling because it pre-gelatinizes the starch. And that makes it harder to break during milling. So it's actually the end of my talk. But before I end, let me summarize the main points. So rice is a versatile grain. It has many unique properties. That's why it has also a lot of applications. And this will be talked about in detail in the next presentation. The quality of the rice grain impacts its market value. Hence, it is an important selection criterion in breeding products. Lastly, grain quality is a combination of milling, appearance, cooking, eating, and nutritional characteristics. It will be improved based on end user requirements. So with that, thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you po, Ma'am Rosalie. Okay, so now, let's listen po sa discussion naman po ni Dr. Riza Abilgos Ramos.
Hello everyone, I'm Risa Abilgos Ramos from the Rice Chemistry and Food Science Division of the Philippine Rice Research Institute. I hope you are all doing well, and I know you've learned so many things in the previous lecture by one of our scientists here at PhilRice. So she talked about the rice chemistry and quality. So this time around that I'll be the one giving you the lecture, I'll be talking about rice for better health and nutrition, of course. So for the next 20 or 30 minutes, depending on how we can like get through the topics, I'll be talking about the health and nutrition problems that we have, particularly here in the Philippines. We will also look at the consumer and, of course, the market for the products that we can get or we can produce from rice, and of course, answer some question on why we use rice for these value-added products. We will look at its versatility, benefits, and other aspects. We will also somehow uh, tackle on the forms of rice, though it was already explained to you in a previous lecture. So we'll talk about the forms and products for nutrition, health concerns, and disease prevention of rice or from rice. And of course, the prospects and summary that we this talk will be covered. So, in terms of the nutritional challenges that we have here in the Philippines, actually, it's not just here in the Philippines, but for the whole world. If you're familiar with the protein energy malnutrition, nutritional anemias, vitamin A deficiencies, still these are the nutritional deficiencies that all our vulnerable groups, particularly children and women, are experiencing or suffering from. So we have now the double burden of malnutrition. Some would tell us that it's already triple burden of malnutrition among our children and adolescents and adults, even the elderlies. Basically, they are the vulnerable groups of the population. So if you look at this picture, it seems like we're copying the trend of most developing countries now. We have like more of the adults are getting overweight or obese. So now that we have this, if you look at the health status or the morbidity and mortality rate data of the Philippines, the top three or the top five causes of the morbidity and mortality rates in our country is more into the non-communicable diseases. So that's cardiovascular diseases or the the diseases of related to our high intake of cholesterol, sugars, and others. We have so many forms of cancers now. I think in the news you would probably hear about the colon cancer, breast cancer, so those type of cancers. And of course, diabetes. So there's an increasing prevalence of non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus among adults, even in young children or young adults. Yeah. So that's how we are now in terms of our health situation here in the Philippines and even in the world. So nangungopia lang tayo, which is not good. So if we look at the market, so when we look at the market in 2017, when we started having talks with our key stakeholders, we found out that our industry is looking at convenient products, health products, even beauty products. Filipinos are so obsessed with whitening products. So I think that's why we put a lot of ingredients, the glutathione in our pharmaceutical products or cosmeceutical, sorry, of different products for beauty purposes or beauty enhancing purposes. For consumers, all of us are consumers here. So we look for products with good taste. So basically, we prefer more of the sweet and salty. So that's the findings that we had in our previous studies, that Filipinos tend to prefer sweet and salty foods. But we're also concerned about the nutritional and health benefits that we get from the product. So, yung trending basically of having like health products, nutritional products is increasing. And of course, aroma. The third one is aroma. We prefer something that smells good, of course. So that those are just the top three that all consumers from the survey we conducted are looking for. Now, why do we use rice? Of course, it was explained before that we consume a lot of rice. Most of us Filipinos love to eat rice 3 to 5 times a day. But even globally, more than 50% of the population consume rice. Even in Africa, they're starting to consume rice now, or planting rice or produce rice. We consume so much that one third to one half of our total daily food intake, we're getting this all from rice. So if we look at the plate of the Filipino, typical Filipino consumer, half of it are just rice. Even probably during snacks or dessert, we consume rice. So we have all those foods produced from rice. So every part of the rice grain can be used for food and non-food uses. As I mentioned, we can do many food products, even non-food products from rice. So that's why rice is really useful. That's why we use a lot of rice in many aspects of our lives. So in terms of nutrition, of course, rice is our main source of macronutrients. When we say macronutrients, these are carbohydrates and protein particularly, or specifically. Rice is also very versatile. So it's really good for like your medium or vehicle for any health and nutrition improvement. It is gluten free, like it was mentioned in the previous lecture that if you are gluten intolerant or you have this celiac disease, which means that you have some kind of allergy to most protein in cereals. Among the cereals, rice doesn't have it. So wheat have the gluten. Uh, Other cereals have gluten like oats, but rice doesn't have it. So it's hypoallergenic basically. So these are the different forms of rice. Just to have a review of the previous lecture, we start with the paddy or the rough rice, and then we have the brown rice. Of course, yeah, the brown rice, we can eat it. Then the milled rice, the broken rice, the rice flour, and then purifying more, this form would give us the rice starch. So these different forms of rice have different uses, of course. So let's see, brown and white rice. So we're very familiar with brown and white rice. So that's the main, I think that's the main forms that we utilize or use in our daily lives. So the white rice, the one on top, the picture that you can see on top of this slide, it's about 90% carbohydrate. So this is basically the form of rice that we use as source of our energy. And as mentioned, it's hypoallergenic and gluten free, so we don't worry about any reaction to this. Even the Europeans, they consume rice now because most of them have this kind of gluten intolerance, probably because of consuming too much wheat and other cereal products available in their countries. Yeah. So brown rice, as mentioned in the previous lecture, is a really good source of other nutrients like protein, minerals, the fiber. It was mentioned in the previous lecture, right? So we have also some vitamins like the folate, the lysine. So we have some amount that we can, make use of or maximize from this form of rice. And basically, it has lower glycemic index or GI. So GI is just a measure of the increase in the level of blood glucose from the food that we eat. So the lower the GI, the better it's the food form. So when we say it has lower GI, I'm comparing this with white rice. So it's better to consume this form if you are watching your blood sugar or you're a diabetic. So let's talk more on glycemic index or GI. So we, in some studies, in previous studies conducted by the DOST FNRI, they found out that some varieties would have low to high GI in the form of, I think this is more on the form of brown rice. So they found out there's a variety which is low in GI like the PSBRC10, but most of the varieties that they screened are into the medium type of GI. And the rest are, of course, as expected, the softer the texture, like the NSIC RC160, the Japonica type rice are more like high in GI. So if we're very conscious about blood sugar, we have to go for the low GI rice. More on brown rice and glycemic index. So let's compare the IR64 and the Sinandoming. These are the more on traditional, not really traditional, but more of the probably mga lumang varieties na to eh. Anyway, we, we just want to show you that in the polished form of these two varieties, we can see that it's more into the medium to high GI. So, but if we consume it in the form of brown rice, as you can see in this brown bar in this graph, we will be more in like we will have it as a low GI food. So in this kind of or in this form of rice, we'll have low GI rice. So now let's go to different rice products from different forms of rice. I know you're very familiar with our native rice cake, so we consume these products for breakfast, for snacks, for midnight snacks. So as I mentioned earlier, we consume so much rice that we eat rice for like in different forms and kinds 3 to 5 times a day. So these are just some of the traditional rice products. We have the suman or ibus, depending on where you are in the Philippines. And we have different names for these kind of products, the bibingka or the most of these products are from waxy or glutinous or sticky rice. So for the paddy rice, the very basic form of rice, we can actually process it into parboiled rice. So parboiling is a process which involves soaking, steaming, and drying of rice paddy. So why most of the Southeast Asian consume parboiled rice? Because it improves the milling recovery, the texture, the chewy texture that they prefer is in the parboiled rice. But the other benefits of having parboiled rice is the increase in the minerals and vitamins of this rice because it with the parboiling process makes it like retain most of these nutrients. Of course, they don't consume it in paddy form, but after parboiling, they mill it into unpolished or brown rice form, and then they consume it or further process it into polished or milled rice. I'm sure you've eaten some kind of basmati rice or rice that we put a lot of sauce like curry. That's basically basmati in the form of parboiled rice. So another advantage of consuming parboiled rice is the increase in resistant starch. So the resistant starch basically is a form of starch in rice, which if we have that, it makes it more like low GI or more beneficial for diabetic patients. So for the brown rice and the bran form of rice, we have also different products. For the bran, we can use it as an ingredient or as an enhancer for noodles. As you can see in this picture, it can improve the dietary fiber, the lipid content, because the lipids or the oil or the fat content in the bran contributes to this at 18%, or additional like nutrient at 18%, and the minerals also from the bran and the germ, as discussed earlier or in previous lecture. So the bran in pandesal or the salt bread, we can also have additional fiber from the bran and minerals, of course, in the studies we conducted before. We can also use brown rice and process into flour and then make it into cracker or biscuits. So that's how we use these products or forms to make it more nutritional, or more to have it more nutrients in this form of products. So in the previous lecture, it was mentioned that sprouted or germinated brown rice can give us the gamma aminobutyric acid rice. So this GABA rice contains so many nutrients that we cannot get from the usual brown rice, because the GABA rice increases the minerals, even the other components of that we can get from the brown rice. So we have screened so far varieties suitable for GABA rice, and of course we can see that there are varieties that can be processed into GABA rice. So here the NCRC 160 is also a good quality rice, and the process here is just for making GABA rice. We just soak it for the brown rice to it for 48 hours, and then oven dry it for 12 hours at 40 degrees, so we can get all the benefits that we have. Here on the right side of the slide, you can see that the mineral content is increased. It's the ash content basically is an indicative of mineral content or increase in minerals, total mineral content. Another one that is increased is the dietary fiber, and even the minerals like calcium and iron. So those are the increase in terms of percentage. So for us to be able to like maximize the use of GABA rice, we process into different rice food products. First is the Nutri Rice Milk. So this Nutri Rice Milk is basically a product of buffalo's milk. So we collaborated with the Philippine Carabao Center for this, and we incorporated the GABA rice or the sprouted brown rice, the different colored rices, of course, the red and black, into this product. So we have now the GABA rice as an ingredient of buffalo's milk. Well, now we call it the Nutri Rice Milk. And our researchers also at the Food Science, um, they also made rice congee, or we're very familiar with, of course, the caldo. So it's very similar to that, or that's the equivalent, the GABA rice congee. Instead of using the usual milled rice, they use the GABA rice or the sprouted brown rice into making it into rice congee. So that's a product in the pipeline that is going to be transferred to any interested entrepreneurs that can process these products. Even Nutri Rice Milk, it's still open for adoption if there are interested entrepreneurs, micro or even the medium scale entrepreneurs. So that's basically the GABA rice. So I think in the previous lecture um, we already mentioned that the benefits of having this product. So it improves the memory, it enhances the brain functions basically. So if you're going to have your exam, you can probably consume this product so that you'll be able to remember all the things you reviewed the night before for the exam, or if you're going to take your board exam, for example. Even elderlies can benefit from this, so they won't have dementia or Alzheimer disease. In some studies, I think it was shown that it can help a lot in maintaining the brain health of elderlies. Another product that we can process from bran is the rice bran oil. We've seen so many products from Thailand, from other countries that we can buy from the grocery. So rice bran oil contains the phytochemicals mentioned in the previous lecture, the oryzanol, tocosin, sterols, which can be very healthy. So it's like second to olive oil. So if we want to be consuming healthier form or healthy oil, we go for rice bran oil. But of course, it costs much more than the coconut oil that we typically consume here in the Philippines. But this is the healthier oil that we can extract from rice bran, of course. So from rice grain, we can either use the polished or unpolished form. If we go for colored rice, rice wine is one of those products from the grain or the polished form of rice. So this tapoy or rice wine is traditionally produced in mountain province or in the upland areas of our country. So based on the sensory evaluation, when they describe this product that we optimize, we actually reformulated the rice wine or the tapoy of the Cordilleras. It was described as a very luxurious wine, probably because we made it clear, we made it like just at 14% alcohol content with moderate sweetness. As I've mentioned earlier, Filipinos like sweet foods. So we basically tailor fit it to the liking of our consumers here in the Philippines. So this rice wine is mostly made from glutinous or waxy rice. So basically the ingredients are just waxy or sticky rice, water, and of course the mixture of microorganism to ferment the rice and then extract the wine from the rice after 2 weeks of fermentation. So as I've said, it can be made from any forms of rice, whether polished form, or if we want to go get the color of red and black rice, we can also use this pigmented rice for this product. Now, another product that we can use for health purposes or for health improvement, or at least for patients requiring low protein, is the low protein rice. It's already pre-cooked. This one is already being provided to most of the hospitals in Manila. Is the product from Japan. So this technology is from Japan. It was collaborated with FNRIDUST, and we also our Rice Chemistry and Food Science Division group also collaborated in coming up with this product. So it's pre-cooked. The protein is basically less than 2%, and it's really designed for individuals on restricted protein diet. So these are patients with chronic kidney diseases. So depending on their intake, because we all know that if you have like limited kidney function, you can no longer tolerate high protein or the regular protein amount that we get from many foods. So this can really help those kind of patients. And it's a product of rice, and also like processed using microorganisms to decrease or lower the protein content. Now, another interesting product which we probably not so aware of, but it's been with us probably since our great grandparents, is the red mold rice or angkak, which is a product resulting from the fermentation of rice with a fungus Monascus purpureus. So this basically this microorganism is basically like having this natural red pigment, which if we use it as natural colorant in products like sausages, in our burong. We have so many buros here in the Philippines, like the burong kanin. If you've seen like the burong kanin or burong mustasa, I think they've been using this at least for the past so many years. But what we did here in Philrice is that we use this microorganism for products like coffee, for cookies, and of course as a diet supplement for people needing um, supplements to lower their cholesterol level in the blood. So this basically is more like a supplementary product that can really help in lowering cholesterol for hyperlipidemic patients or those with hypercholesterolemia. So this product of rice is not itself a product, but more of the grain, or it's basically the grain having the color yellow because this is the beta carotene enriched rice. So in the previous lecture, it was mentioned that we have the high micronutrient rice, high zinc rice, and then the malusog rice or the vitamin A rice. Basically, this is the beta carotene enriched rice. So this one here on the left. So this beta carotene enriched rice, or the one we call malusog rice now, is a complementary solution to our vitamin A deficiency among children and women. So why do we need to do this? Because we have to prevent blindness and infections among our vulnerable groups, therefore decreasing the morbidity and mortality rates among our children and women. So this is a newly released variety now. It's a product of genetic engineering and efforts made by our partners from Germany to Erie to even now at Philrice, we're starting to deploy this beta carotene enriched rice, or what we call the malusog rice again. So other products from rice, of course, I mentioned about rice wine. So we have byproducts of rice wine production, which we call lees or rice wine lees. So it's the residue of tapoy, basically the production of rice wine. But this byproduct contains high level of proteins and dietary fibers. So the group of Manawis and Morales mm, made it into another product or products. So they tried to maximize the use of this byproduct in several food products. So it's like byproduct to products again. So basically like salvaging whatever can be salvaged from the waste from the tapoy production. So in their study, they incorporated it to noodles, to biscuits and crackers, and to other products to increase the dietary fiber content of certain products that we use to or we consume a lot, like the snacks. So they found out that there's a 30% increase in the dietary fiber when incorporated with rice wine lees. So for the prospect of rice, I mentioned so many examples of rice products, but there are many other things that we can make using rice. And in right now, we also have this study that is looking into using rice or providing rice in our emergency response during calamities, like, so it's more like a calamity food now. So there are groups in UP Diliman that started like producing convenient foods or canned rice for it to be in the go bag or of the DSWD, so for it to be supplied in disaster areas whenever there are disaster stricken areas, because right now we don't have right disaster supply kit that we provide to these victims. Producing Another prospect of rice is in the plant-based diets or foods for the future. So because it's very versatile and unique and it can be easily incorporated or used as ingredient, we can use this in most plant-based diets. So I think you've heard about the healthier or more sustainable diets, which is basically maximizing the use of legumes and other plant-based foods and then replacing it or making it as an alternative to meat. So these are the plant-based diets and foods that uh, now are being considered for the future as food. Of course, another one is the 3-in-1. So when we say 3-in-1, if you remember the slide presented by one of our scientists, she showed the high iron, the high zinc rice, and the golden rice or the beta carotene enriched rice. So our breeders now are aiming to put them together in one varieties, and later on maybe we can have 5-in-1 rice, which is the healthier rice forms or varieties. So we can have more folate in our rice, more lysine in our rice. So we all have those possibilities for our rice. So I think that's all that I can say for now. I know you've seen so many products that I haven't mentioned. I just give you some or a few of the products that we developed. There are many more that you can read from probably when you go search on the internet. But this is just to tell you that really rice is really versatile and unique. So we have limitless use of our rice. So we can do so much more. Rice is also a very good vehicle to address our, many of our top nutritional and health concerns. So as I've shown you earlier, and of course, we should go for color. So the darker, the better. So the black and the red and the brown, we better consume them rather than eating mostly white. So I guess if you have more ideas or concerns or questions for me, you can email me through this, raramos@philrace.gov.ph or to my Gmail address. So I think that's it for now, but let me hear from you then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much po to our speakers, Ms. Manawis and Dr. Abilgos Ramos, for educating us about the rice we eat, the grain quality characteristics and its utilization, and how it is contributing to our health. So I'm certain that you have questions in mind. So without any delay, may I call on Mr. Reynante H. Bacalangco, University Extension Associate 2, to facilitate the Q&A portion of this webinar. Sir Ray, magandang umaga po.
Good morning, Ms. Shen. Yes, good morning, Ms. Shen. Thank you very much nga pala sa ating mga distinguished presenters, Ma'am Rosalie Munawis and Dr. Risa Belgos Ramos. Thank you for the very, very informative presentations. Right now, we are about 365 attendees at our Zoom. For our FB, we are about 172, and there are about 11 watching from YouTube. So before I start the Q&A, I would like just to remind our participants, please write your questions at our Q&A box. Mama Nawis, Dr. Risa, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes
for the
po.
first question, this comes from Mr. Ray Custodio Evangelista. Are there any successful strategies or interventions implemented in other rice-consuming countries to mitigate the negative health impacts of rice consumptions that can be learned from and applied in the Philippines?
Yes, napakaganda po ng question niya. Actually po, marami po tayong matututunan sa ibang countries. Huwag na tayong lumayo. In Southeast Asia, marami na po silang strategies. Pero the strategies are combination actually of diversifying the diet, supplementation, commercial fortification. So they're really aggressive on doing all these strategies. Ginagawa rin po yan ng ating dito sa Philippines. Kaya lang po, iba rin naman kasi yung geographical natin. Mahirap talaga yung magkakalayo yung mga islands natin. So, hindi po sa lahat ng oras ay madaling mag-reach out. But yeah, we're doing the same strategies. And I think yung isa din pong ginagawa na natin dito sa Pilipinas, yung pinopromote natin yung diversification of the diet. So far po kasi ang Philippines, tayo pa rin yung mataas ang consumption ng rice. So we try to we try to make sure na yung consumers natin ay ma-lessen yung intake of rice. And then they go for mga alternative crops. So sa ibang countries po kasi, they don't eat rice not 3 to 5 times a day unlike us. So isa yun sa pinopromote natin na huwag tayong masyadong mag-depend sa rice for our carbohydrate source. So marami po tayong root crops just like any other Southeast Asian countries, maraming root crops. So we promote the consumption of root crops and the other carbohydrate-rich products na mas low GI, mas complex ang pagiging source ng carbo. So hindi siya madaling magkaroon ng spike sa blood sugar. So yun po yung medyo ina-advocate natin ngayon, kina-campaign natin na huwag masyadong sa rice nakadepende yung carbohydrate natin, but make use of the root crops and other alternatives. May saba tayo, may kamote tayo, so marami tayong ibang pwedeng source ng carbohydrates, not just rice. So make sure lang po na yun ang ating maging strategy pa. So we hope na we can promote yung mga ganun. So ayun po siguro yung dapat natin pang i-aggressively promote sa ating mga consumers. Kasi in other countries in Southeast Asia, mas mababa po talaga yung rice consumption nila compared sa atin dito sa Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I hope na answer yung question niyo po, Sir Ray. The second question, ma'am, is from Alan Eugene Lagradilla. His comment is, thank you for the very comprehensive discussion. My question and clarification is, what specific assurance and technical measures when it comes of usage chemical application, pre and post-harvest activities affects the health of consumer as well as the ecosystem?
Clarification po dun sa question. You mean po dun sa chemical application ay pesticides? Pre and post-harvest? During pre and post-harvest activities?
Pre and post-harvest activities po, ma'am.
Yes po. So it means yung pong mga chemical pesticides po, ano?
Opo.
So ito pong usapin po sa chemical fertilizer, chemical pesticides po ay more on the safety. Safety po ang ka-address ng rice natin. It's actually ibang na po siya because iba po yung sa grain quality and sa safety. So but it's also important na ma-address din po yung sa safety po ng mga rice samples po natin. So sa ngayon po, I think mas makakasagot po ng ganitong question ay someone from po sa mga doing crop establishment, mga sa farm level po, ano natin. Because it addresses, yun na pong sa safety part.
Yeah,
So,
post-harvest.
post-harvest and pre-harvest. Yung sa quality po kasi niya ay hindi po, wala pong masyadong pag-aaral na nagsasabi na may effect po on grain quality ang ating pesticides. Ang pinaka ano po niya, effect po niya are on the safety of the product.
Okay na po, ma'am?
Yes po, sir.
Okay.
I hope it
Sir
answered
Alan, yeah, I hope
question.
Sir Alan na-answer niyo yung question. So, there's also a question, ma'am, here from Hania Alulong. I hope na ano ko yung pangalan niya, no? Anong mayroon po doon sa rice that hardens when it is no longer hot? Hindi na daw po mainit. Meanwhile, the other rice is still very soft po.
The component po na responsible for that phenomenon, yung tinatawag po nating retrogradation, yan po yung pagtigas ng ating rice, anong cooked rice po natin kapag ka nababahaw na. So usually ito po ay nangyayari sa mga varieties na may intermediate high amylose content. Meron din po yung sa low, but yung pagka-low amylose po, hindi masyadong nagre-retrograde kasi po yung retrogradation ay characteristic po na primarily ng amylose. So yun po yung dahilan. Kaya po pagka varieties po natin ay generally mababa sa amylose content, tulad po ng mga waxy types din, kung mapapansin po ninyo kahit na tagal nang nandyan lang, hindi po siya tumitigas. So yun po yung characteristic ng amylose content. So siya po yung reason kung bakit po tumitigas ang nababahaw na kanin. So yun po, sir.
Thank you po, ma'am. Ma'am Hania, sana po na-answer po ni Ma'am Rosalie ang inyong question. The next is from Angelo Fermil. What are the current studies or some studies that has been conducted for special rice, specifically aromatic and pigmented relative to improving its quality and recovery?
Regarding aromatic rice po, may mga development aromatic varieties pa rin po tayo sa ating breeding program. So kasi nga po, it has a premium price. And kasama po dito sa ngayon po sa field rice, pagka sa field rice po, hindi po kami masyadong nagpo-focus sa ngayon sa aromatic rice aside from the breeding aspect. But doon po sa pigmented, mas marami kami research ginagawa. Tinitingnan po namin ang iba't ibang karakteristik pa. Kasi yung kung mga anti-cancer, mga ganong effect, antioxidant, usually po ay hindi pa siya sa natetest sa animal, kahit cell culture, human subjects. So mainly sa laboratory lang po o in vitro. So ngayon po ay may mga pag-aaral po tayo na ginagamitan na po ng cell culture. May mga tests na rin po para malaman kung talagang bioavailable yun po yung tinatawag. Ibig sabihin magagamit po ng katawan kung ano man po yung health promoting components dun po sa pigmented rice. Kasi pwede pong mataas ang level ng mga antioxidant compounds na ito, pero hindi naman po ma-absorb ng katawan. So yun po yung isa sa mga research activities na ginagawa para malaman po kung talaga bioavailable or mas mapapakinabangan po ng katawan kung ano po yung nandun sa pigmented rice.
Okay, Ma'am Rosalie, thank you very much. Bago tayo mag-continue dito sa Q&A box natin, there is also a question from our FB page, no? Pero medyo nawala ata sila sa ere. Nawala ata yung live nila. So, ang question, ma'am, is from Roberto Acosta. If parboiled rice is good for nutrition, why is the practice of parboiling rice before cooking not popular in the Philippines? Is there a program by PhilRice aimed at promoting parboiled rice? Thank you very much. From Roberto Acosta.
Thank you very much for the question, sir. Nag-echo. Ayan. Yes po, totoo po na parboiling not only improves the milling recovery of rice but also the nutritional quality of rice. It's because during parboiling, so isinasubject po natin sa heating, steam heating ang paddy rice. So pag na-steam heat, pre-gelatinize po doon yung starch sa loob ng endosperm. So habang intact po doon yung hull o yung ipa. So during that process, yung pong mga nutrients na nasa bran ay nagsisip na pupunta po sa loob ng endosperm. So sa halip na nandoon lang siya sa bran, mapasok po siya doon sa endosperm. So kaya po tumataas ang nutritional value ng parboiled rice. And at the same time, dahil nagge-gelatinize nga po siya, after gelatinization, nagre-retrograde. Tulad po na nabanggit ko kanina about amylose natin. And yung retrogradation po ngayon, nagkukos ng pagtaas ng resistant starch. Yung resistant starch po ay kaya tinawag na resistant, pagka po kinain natin siya, hindi siya nadadigest. So ano naman na importansya pag hindi po na-digest? So hindi po siya nakakapagpataas ng blood glucose level. So ibig sabihin, mababa po ang glycemic index. At importante po siya para po sa mga tao na mayroong conditions like diabetes. So yun po ang nutritional value ng parboiled rice. So hindi po siya popular dito sa Pilipinas dahil additional step po siya dun sa processing. Sa halip na imimil mo na agad, magdadagdag ka pa ng step. So medyo dun ang processors natin, ang mga millers natin. And at the same time, yung po kasing pag-sip ng mga components ng bran, nagdi-discolor po yung grain. So syempre, ano po ba ang kulay ng bran natin? Medyo yellowish po yan, di ba? So pagka nag-parboil po tayo, yung pong endosperm, dahil pumasok po sa kanya yung nutrients or other components po ng bran, nagiging yellowish na din po yung endosperm. Eh tayo pa naman mga Pilipino, mas gusto natin yung mapuputi. Diba? Kaya din nahihirapan po tayo, medyo nahihirapan tayo na i-promote ang brown rice dahil mas gusto po ng karamihan sa atin maputing bigas. So yun po ang mga reasons kung bakit hindi popular ang parboiled rice. Isa pa po pala na malaking factor kung bakit hindi siya popular ay dahil nga po may pre-gelatinization na nangyayari during parboiling. Mas hindi po nagiging dikit-dikit yung parboiled rice kapag niluto siya at mas matigas. Tayo nga po mga Pilipino, we prefer low amylose, we prefer tender cooked rice. So yun po yung mga balakid. Kaya po hindi po siya successful. So sa yun po, wala po pong program ang PhilRice about parboiled rice, although we posted before, but medyo tight po ang budget ng institute. So may mga ibang priorities po sa ngayon, but maybe later, titignan po natin kung ito po ay mas mapapaganda pa natin yung quality ng parboiled rice para mas maging appealing po siya sa millers at sa consumers po ng mga Pilipino.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. The next question is, available na po ba ang GABA rice sa market? Or saan po siya mabibili by Lea Mera Sanchez?
Sa ngayon po dito sa Pilipinas ay wala po tayong steady supply po ng GABA rice. Although dito po sa PhilRice ay may capability po tayo na gumawa at actually yung pong pinresent ni Dr. Risa kanina, yung Nutri-Rice Milk, so yung pong GABA rice ay pinoprovide po ng PhilRice. So may i-address pa po dun sa shelf life ng GABA rice, but in other countries like Thailand, I think pati Japan, meron na po silang GABA rice. So medyo advanced po sila doon. So kaya may market na po sila. Available na po sa market yung GABA rice. Marami na rin po silang product ginagamitan po ng GABA rice.
Okay. Ma'am from Lionel Ligwaco. Is drying temperature affects the quality of rice?
Sa ano po yan? Sa ano po ba yan, sir? Doon po sa padi pa lang?
Siguro po,
You
ma'am.
mean po? Yes po. So, tulad po ng nasabi ko kanina, yung pong drying has an effect on the moisture content. So, pagka po mataas po ang moisture content natin, pagka mababa po ang moisture content, and siguro po kung mataas yung temperature, yun yung nagiging cause. So, if hindi na po siya within the prescribed moisture content of the grain before polishing, that is 12 to 14%, magiging susceptible na po for fissuring or breakage yung grains natin kapag minil. At pagka ganun po, bumababa na po yung milling recovery. So yun po yung epekto sa grain quality, particularly po doon sa milling yield.
Okay po. Meron tayo na skip na question siguro, ma'am, kanina. So, ibalik ko lang kay Sir Angelo Fermil. Ang question niya po is, what are the current studies or some studies that has been conducted for special rice, specifically aromatic and pigmented relative to improving its quality and recovery? Tama ho ba? Na-skip ko na ma'am?
Sir, parang nasagot na po natin siya kanina.
Okay. Sige po, ma'am. Sorry po. So, the other question is from Jack Ryan Isaac. How can we ensure traceability and quality control of rice grains throughout the supply chain?
Yan po ay medyo mahirap pong sagutin kasi po throughout the supply chain na po, no, marami po tayong actors. So for our part, yung pong nabanggit po natin ay sa breeding part pa lang po tayo. So hindi pa po siya lumalabas doon sa, so kasi pagka sa supply chain, may marketing na po yan, may mga feeding, ganun. So medyo mahirap po siyang i-ensure. So dapat po ay concerted efforts po ng iba't ibang sangay, mga sangay ng gobyerno, at ganoon din po yung mga private companies. So dapat ay natutulungan po para po ma-attain po yung tinatawag po natin gandang quality rice. Kasi yun nga po ang proseso. So hindi lang po ilan yung actors pagdating sa supply chain.
Sige po, ma'am. Sir Jack Ryan, siguro po ano po natin tong question niyo po, ihanap po natin kung sino pwede pong mag-answer. Sige po, sir. So next question is, ma'am, nakakaapekto po ba ang variety, quality ng rice if madali ba siyang mapanis? Observation ko po kasi given the same environmental condition, mas matagal mapanis ang brown at black rice compared to white rice, from Miss Jennifer Atay.
Napaka-interesting po nung ginawa ninyo, no, na parang mini study dun sa inyong pagtingin ng spoilage po ng rice. Kasi po dun sa pag-aaral ng ilang kasamahan natin dito sa field rice, ang mga prone to spoilage po ay yung mabababa ang amylose content. So yung tawag dito mga low, medyo malalambot. So given the same conditions. But yung pagdating po sa brown rice, interesting po yung results ninyo. Actually, ang possible po na yung pong brand ay nakaka-apekto. Kaya po matagal pong mapanis yung sample ninyo base po sa inyong observation. Kasi po may physical barrier po yung grains dahil dun sa brand. Kaya po hindi siya siguro nagkakaroon ng mabilis sa pagkapanis. But we can look into that po, sir. Ma'am, po nagtanong. So para po mas ma-verify po natin. Sa ngayon po ay wala pa po kaming pag-aaral po doon sa pagkapanis ng brown rice or ng pigmented rice. That's interesting and magandang input po yan para mapag-aralan. Ibang quality pa po ng mga rice varieties natin.
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Rosalie. The next question is, ano po ba ang effect ng organic fertilizer sa amylose content? From Mr. Armando Ortiz. Sige po, ma'am.
Okay,
Sorry
thank you
po.
po. Thank you po. Sir, base po sa naging pag-aaral namin noon, wala pong epekto sa grain quality of organic fertilizers. Di po tulad nung kiklaim na meron po siyang ibang effect. Actually, parang parehas lang din po siya. Mas may effect po siya dun sa yield ng rice. So, labas na po siya dun sa grain quality na tinatawag. Tinignan din po namin doon ang iba't ibang phytochemical content at wala rin naman po siyang ipinakita na kaibahan between the organic and inorganic. So, safe to say na any kind of fertilizer po ay wala pong masyadong effect dun sa ating grain quality.
Sige po, ma'am. Okay. There's also a question from Mr. Filipino Machenso. Pareho ba ang half-broken milled rice at choke grains? Half-broken milled rice and choke grains.
Okay po. Magkaiba po sila. So yung choke grain po ay, kung napansin niyo po dun sa presentation po kanina, yun po may puti-puti dun sa part ng grain. So hindi po ba ang regular rice natin na non-waxy ay karaniwang translucent po. So medyo clear. Pero yung pong choky, translucent pero may part siya na may parang chalk. So may puti-puti po siya. Pero hindi naman po yung buong grain. Kasi po pagka yung buong grain, ibig sabihin, waxy na po yun. Waxy rice po yun. Pero pagka po chalk, may more than 50% po ng area ng grain ay may maputi or choky. So yun po yung choky. Yung po namang broken, yun po yung mga hindi po buo na grains. So usually yun po yung mga nadurog kapag po nag-mill. So pwede pong broken ang mga choky grains kasi po weak po ang integrity ng grains na may chalk. So pwede siyang madurog. So pwede siyang maging broken. But not all brokens are due to chalky grains. Pwede rin po na talagang durugin lang yung grain na yon. Hindi siya chalky pero madali siya madurog kasi pwedeng dala ito ng moisture content, pwedeng immature yung grain. So yun po. So hindi po sila equivalent agad.
Okay, ma'am. There is actually a follow-up question here from Mr. Rogelio Jr. Picard. No? Thank you, Ma'am Manawis. I have really learned a lot from your presentation as well as the current presentations. This is my first time attending a seminar about rice grain quality, and it's very informative. Ma'am, I have a follow-up question if it's okay. You mentioned safety concerns regarding the use of pesticides and also the current speakers such as diabetes, cancers, etc. Since rice is consumed by the majority of the Filipinos, I am curious if it's possible or do you test the rice for pesticides, MRL, maximum residual level, mostly produced that is exported undergoes this testing. Locally in Israel daw, they also test their produce for MRL. And if it is possible for FNRI or any government agency to come up with a suggestion or a dietary program with regards to consumption of rice. No? Sorry for my ignorance, ma'am, sabi niya. I'm also a young farmer. I am not against conventional farming or interventions of any sorts, only an IPM advocate from Mr. Rogelio Picard.
Yes, thank you very much po, Sir Rogelio Picard, para sa inyong question. So hindi po kami nagtetest sa field rice ng pesticide residue. So ito po ay gawain po ng ibang ahensya under the DA at ito po ay ang NFA. Yung pong MRL ay nasa standards na ginagawa po ng sa ngayon. I think inaayos po nila yung standards, pesticide residue, heavy metals sa rice. May technical working group po dyan under the DA para po pag-usapan kung ano yung limits nitong mga ito. At yan po ay ngayon ay isinasagawa. So doon po natin maibabase kung ano po yung limits ng pesticide dapat meron po yung yung rice para makapag-export po tayo. So sa ngayon po ay I think ongoing pa yung kanilang pagbuo po doon sa standards. Meron naman po tayong standards ngayon, kaya lang I think nire-revise, ina-update po siya. But we can also look at the international standards since mag-export din po tayo. Kung ano po yung standard ng bansa na gusto nating pag-exportan, tingnan po natin doon yung MRL ng mga pesticide residues na concerned po tayo. At yun po muna ang sundin natin.
Okay, Ma'am Rosalie, thank you very much. Sorry na tayo sa oras na ngayon. So that's our last question. For the questions not being answered, we'll try to consolidate it and give it to our resource persons. So thank you very much for the participants who gave some questions to our resource persons. Back to you, Ma'am Sheni.
Thank you po, Sir Ray, for facilitating. Okay, and thank you din po, Ma'am Rosalie and Doc Riza for enlightening our participants. And of course, kami din po na-enlighten din po sa mga sagot sa mga katanungan ng ating mga viewers and participants. So now that we are near the end of this webinar series, before that pala, on behalf of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our speakers by awarding this certificate. Allow me to read the citation. College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines, present the Certificate of Appreciation to Ms. Rosalie V. Manawis for serving as the resource person on the webinar entitled Rice Grain Quality and Utilization in Rice-Based Products during the Rice Science and Technology Webinar Series Part 2 held on 11th of July 2023 via Zoom. Given this 11th day of July 2023 at the College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines. Signed by Dean Elpidio M. Agbisit, Jr. Okay. So another, the same certificate of appreciation po is presented to Dr. Riza G. Abelgos Ramos for serving as the resource person on the webinar entitled Rice Grain Quality and Utilization in Rice-Based Products during the Rice Science and Technology Webinar Series Part 2 held on 11th of July 2023 via Zoom. Given this 11th day of July 2023 at the College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines. Signed by Dean Elpidio M. Agbiset, Jr. Ma'am Riza and Ma'am Rosalie.
Thank you very much po, UPLB CAFs.
Welcome po, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So thank you all for attending the last episode of the Rice Science and Technology Webinar Series Part 2. To get your certificate, kindly accomplish the evaluation form through this link. Okay, so let me remind you again that one completed episode with real-time attendance po and evaluation is equivalent to 1 CPD point. Take note po na only those who have completed episodes 1 to 9 ng webinar series na ito will be given a total of 7 CPD points. So again, please don't forget to accomplish the attendance and evaluation forms through the provided links. Para po check na check for verification ang inyong mga names and other details. Your electronic certificates with CPD points po will be given after the Rise Science and Technology webinar series. Kaya see to it din po that you provide us with your correct and active email address. So to conclude this webinar series, may I request the CAPS Associate Dean for Research and Extension, the woman leading the team behind the successful activity, Dr. Lilia M. Fernando Corpus, for her closing remarks. Hi, Doc Lia.
Hello, Shenny. Am I audible?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for the College of Agriculture and Food Science to have both Ma'am Rosalie and Doc Risa this morning. Advances in rice science mainly focus towards increasing food production or yield to feed the country's growing population. It's important to combine high yields with superior quality grains to improve its nutritional value and at the same time make the improved rice appealing to eat. So Ma'am Rosalie and Ma'am Risa shared with us today the unique properties of rice, various types, their health benefits, and further improvements being done to enhance its grain quality and nutritional value. So we learned about factors affecting quality and ang pinakatumatak sa akin yung storage. So siguro it's important din to educate our persons in charge in the value chain, especially yung sa customs natin on how to properly store our harvest, no, yung mga dumarating, and syempre yung mga co-ops natin for proper storage, kasi sometimes we hear from news about problems dun sa storage natin ng mga rice produce. And also Ma'am Risa link yung grain quality from the presentation shared by Ma'am Rosalie dun sa ating health. So sabi nila, health is wealth. We heard about GABA rice. So nakakatawa sa atin, we prefer milled rice na natatanggal yung mga nutrients, minerals, then we buy supplements. Nakakatawa po tayo, no? Mas preferred natin yon, yung natanggalan na nung mga fiber, and mga healthy oils, no? Then we take other supplements para lang masupplyan yung mga kailangan ng ating katawan. So we also heard about products of rice. Naalala ko lagi yung rice wine, yung pinakaunang nainom ko na red wine. Kasi I'm from the north, Ilocana, and popular sa amin yung rice wine. And we know that it's very healthy, based from the presentation today. And almost every day we hear about rice production sa ating news. Hopefully soon we hear about good news, not just on the price, but our own varieties being popularized sa social media, recognizing the efforts of our rice scientists and researchers. So there's always something good to look forward to. Again, maraming salamat po sa Field Rice through Ma'am Rosalie and Ma'am Risa for sharing your expertise today. I'm sure all of us learned something new from your shared presentations. Thank you then to all our coordinators and colleagues from Field Rice. So lastly, I'd like to acknowledge, of course, our Dean, Dr. Elpidio Agbisit Jr. for always leading and supporting our extension services like these webinars. Our host for today, the La Granja Research and Training Station of CAPS, through its station manager, Ma'am Eva, and our MC for today, Ms. Shenny Hilado, our moderator, Mr. Ray Bacalangco, and all our colleagues from La Granja Station who joined us today. The angels behind the Zoom screen, Catherine, Arthur, Rachel, Jamie, and the whole CAPS Rice webinar team, thank you for all your hard work and efforts. And to our dear participants, thank you for your active na participation po sa amin. We look forward to seeing you again in our next CAPS webinar series. Thank you and have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you po, Doc Lia. Indeed po, we learned a lot sa RISE webinar series na ito. So maraming salamat po at pagpupugay sa ating CAPS Extension and RISE webinar team for organizing and for paving a way to bridge RISE relevant information from our experts to all intended clientele. Maraming salamat din po sa lahat ng lumahok at sumubaybay sa ating CAPS RISE Science and Technology webinar series. For more updates po, follow us on Facebook and YouTube, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Okay? So this has been your Kapsama Shen, thanking you all again for attending the last episode of the RISE Science and Technology webinar series part 2. Stay tuned po for the next CAPS webinar series. Have a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you, Ma'am Leah.
Thank you po.
112 years ago, the UP Board of Regents had a vision to develop their true firstborn college that will spearhead national development through agriculture. At the foot of Mount Makiling, Edwin B. Copeland, together with 7 faculty and 12 students, embarked on the
Ma'am
journey
Kat, Ma'am
to
Jamie,
create
Ma'am Rachel,
the UP
thank you
College
po.
of Agriculture, or UPCA.
Thank you po.
Through its 112 years of existence, the college has produced over 1,000 technologies and variety of plants and animals, 9 national scientists, over 30 outstanding young scientists, and more than 18,000 graduates contributing to agricultural development. UPCA, now College of Agriculture and Food Science, or CAFS, has been continuously contributing to nation building through its instruction, research, and extension function. A mere 10 years after establishment, the college was able to start breeding works with the production of sugarcane varieties with high productivity and resistance to Fiji and mosaic disease. In the 1920s, the importance of agriculture was intensified and